Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this May 12th version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon. I'm glad you're here. It's just me this morning. I'm not sure where Kyle is, but he might pop in here anytime. But we've got some great guests for you here. Joe Hathaway is going to be with me here in a little bit, talking about the OTEC annual meeting that's coming up. And then here in a little bit, Alex McHaddad, our news director, will be talking to us about some of the interesting things that are going on in the ballot that is probably several of you have already submitted and some of you might still be filling out. And so he'll be talking about the political landscape that's kind of happening right now. So I'm glad you're here, and let's take a look at the weather out there. Hopes to be a pretty day. We'll have to see how it goes. And right now, it was very pleasant this morning here in La Grande. I don't know, however, it might be where you are. Be sure and comment and kind of let us know where you are and how the weather is wherever you are. Let's take a listen to what Gabe has to say for the forecast for the area.
Heading into the day on Thursday, those temperatures will top out into the mid to the upper 50s towards the central part of our region. Warmer towards Pendleton and Ontario into the low to mid 60s. We'll continue to see those sprinkles form into more organized showers, becoming more widespread for the afternoon up towards the north. We'll begin to see some moisture roll through down south during the afternoon hours, although it will be much lighter than what we see up towards the north. Heading into the day on Thursday for La Grande, it does look like this will start out into the mid-40s at 9 o'clock. We'll continue to see that isolated sprinkle possibility through the early parts of the afternoon, and the mid-afternoon is really when we're going to see some organized showers begin to roll through, forming into a steady rain as we progress throughout the evening hours. Southerly winds will be gusting up to 25 miles per hour in spots as we rise those temperatures into the upper 50s. Heading to my short-term forecast for the Grand Ronde Valley, tracking a high of 58 for Thursday, drop into the lower 30s overnight. Track in some sun breaks in the mix of that cloud cover on Friday as we see an isolated shower. Otherwise, much of us will stay dry.
Good stuff. Gabe is spending more time with us here in the office, and so it's really good. You'd be incredibly surprised. He does every bit of that production from his home studio, and that entire operation. He's been doing the forecasts for several years. That's been something that he really enjoys doing, and then since he started working for us. Our studio is really crazy here all the time, and to do weather like that, you really kind of to have a designated space that is not disturbed on a daily basis. And so he's got a little studio at home, and he's able to do that entire production at his house, which is just crazy. But anyhow, he's been coming in more often into the office, and so that's very cool. Just real quick, I want to give a shout out to Rock and Sons. They're one of our sponsors. Rock and Sons in the past have done tires. That's kind of tires and alignment and stuff. But in the last year or so, they have moved into doing entire auto repair. And so be sure and check them out. Justin Rock, who owns that operation, is just a really great individual, and we really appreciate what it is that they do. Appreciate them sponsoring us. All right, so let me pull in Joe Hathaway, who is Joe Hathaway is the PR dude at Oregon Trail Electric. Did I say that? Okay, is that good? Does PR dude work? Is that a good title?
PR dude works. Yeah, PR dude works. Communications manager is the official title, but anything with dude, I'll take.
So that's right. And Joe Hathaway has been. How long have you been at OTEC now?
Almost 3 years now. Yeah.
Wow, man, time flies.
Started in August 2019, a few months before the pandemic. So yeah, almost hitting my 3-year mark.
Wow. And Joe worked in the television industry for several years over on the west side. And so whenever we have a time to talk offline, we commiserate about shows like this, live TV, which is always a crapshoot. You just never know. So
Always a crapshoot. Yes, I'm a recovering journalist, and more like miserate than commiserate, I would say.
all right. Well, Joe, tell us what's going on in the OTEC world.
Yeah, so we are excited to be holding our first in-person annual meeting in more than 2 years. Speaking of the pandemic, the last 2 years, because of the pandemic, we've had to hold it virtually. And so this year, actually on May 21st, 9 days from now, next Saturday, we'll be holding an in-person annual meeting at Baker High School. Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. We're getting to the busy point right now, getting everything organized, but all OTEC member owners are invited, and we encourage everyone to come. It's going to be a good time. So doors open at 8:30, I should say, at Baker High. And if you live in LeGrand, John Day, or Burns, we are offering free bus rides. All you need to do is call your local senior center in Union County, Grant County, or Harney County, and sign up for a bus ride. But seats are limited. I just want to mention that.
And it's kind of it's not just an annual meeting, it's kind of a gathering, right? I mean, it's like there certainly is a formal presentation, a report that's given, and we'll be streaming that portion of it. It'll be on EOA's network and on you guys' Facebook and stuff. But it's also a little bit of a gathering, right? I mean, they have a chance to meet the board and talk with them and give feedback, and I don't know, talk a little bit about what happened.
It's just I mean, we have our official business that we need to do, and that's the business presentation from our board president and CEO. We'll also be announcing the election results of the board election. So if you haven't turned in your ballot yet, I recommend you do so it can make it on time to be counted. But yeah, it's just going to be a lighthearted, just a laid back atmosphere. We're going to have a lot of booths from our community partners. A lot of fun events for the whole family, for kids, adults, a lot of informational, educational material. And yeah, it's just going to be laid back, just fun, kind of a party atmosphere. Baker Technical Institute is catering. So if you're up for a free lunch, we're going to be offering a free lunch for everyone that attends. And, these are, top of the line culinary students, way better that they're catering than if they had me cooking, because no one wants that. Ask my girlfriend. So yeah, you should, I recommend and encourage everyone to come. So this can be a good time, and it's free to join. And all you have to do is just show up. The official business meeting starts at 10:30, but we'll have the doors open at Baker High at 8:30.
Awesome. And just real quickly, and you and I have talked about this a lot. We've been a lot of presentations and so on and so forth. Give us an idea of how much our electricity costs us in the state of Oregon because of the benefit of hydro and stuff compared to some of the other. I mean, when I look at that map across the nation, it's a little bit astounding. So just brag on us a little bit. And OTEC.
We are proud to say that we have some of the, not only the cheapest rates in Oregon, but some of the cheapest rates in the nation. And that's because of the benefits of the hydroelectric dams on the Snake and Columbia rivers. So I would say the national average is around 12 to 13 cents per kilowatt hour. Oregon's are hovering around, the average in Oregon's are hovering around 11.3. And OTEC, we're proud to say we're around 10.4 cents per kilowatt hour. And that's because the benefits of hydro, it's renewable, it's clean. It acts as a battery if the weather gets too hot or too cold. So because of that, we are really proud to, give our members and serve our members reliable hydropower.
And now compare that to like another metropolitan area in the East. I mean, I can't remember what some of those, but when you look at that map, it's like, holy smokes, it's expensive. Electricity is expensive there. I don't.
Oh yeah, especially they just because of the population and that they use a lot of coal power. That drives the cost up. So out here in the West Coast, I mean, California's expensive, but everything in California is expensive, obviously. But here in the Northwest, because of the benefits of the hydroelectric dams, we are proud and we're happy to be able to provide some of the cheapest power in the nation.
And it seems like when I looked at that map, there were places where it was 25, 30, 40 cents a kilowatt.
Yeah.
I mean, is that, I don't remember those numbers, but it's pretty significant.
It's very significant, and yeah, we're pretty lucky to be providing the some of the cheapest electricity to our member owners in the nation. So it's a benefit, and it's safe, it's reliable, it's renewable, it's clean, and yeah, there's nothing to say bad about the benefits of hydropower.
Good stuff. All right, and then Joe, you were wanting to talk a little bit about the preventative shutdown. Is that kind of what it was? I'm trying to remember. Talk to us about what happens there and why that is.
Oh, so I just wanted to talk about, so May is National Wildfire Awareness Month. And, now, we're actually been kind of lucky that it's been so cold and wet. I know people don't like it, but, it's good. It's good for the snowpack and everything, but it is, we are, just around the season from wildfire season. So it's good to, be prepared, create a defensible space around your house and property. That means trimming brushes, trimming any kind of trees that you need, removing pine needles. And also just be prepared in case of emergency. Have a go bag with essential items like medication, important documents, any extra batteries, water, just in case of not only for wildfires, but any kind of emergency. Have a go bag, and also learn, the evacuation levels that they have. It's called Ready, Set, Go. In Oregon, there's level 1, level 2, level 3. Get to learn that. And also, I would also recommend sign up for your local county emergency notification systems. Each county in Oregon has one, and if you sign up for it, they'll contact you if an emergency occurs. And I would also recommend on the OTEC side to call us and opt in. And if you opt in on your OTEC account, that means you will also receive any emergency notifications that we may have to provide in case of an emergency.
So, and talk a little bit, I mean, the landscape, and I don't know all of the facts, but a couple of years ago, some of the fires were, and that's, I don't know if this was in California or on Oregon, anyhow, somewhere on the West, some of the power companies got themselves in trouble because some of the growth, their lines caused the fire to increase or grow, or I mean, and so that has changed the landscape of power companies across the nation. Maybe, I mean, fill in what I'm not saying. Talk a little bit about that, and then what OTEC has had to do also because of that.
So you're referring to a public safety power shutoff, and
thank you. Yeah.
The acronym is PSPS, and it is just a procedure that some utilities in Northwest have had to execute, and that is preemptively shutting off the power in case of extreme weather conditions, such as extremely hot weather, extremely high winds that could cause an ignition from a power line. It is rare, and it is something that utilities don't want to do, but utilities are prepared to do so. Utilities and, just as OTEC, we exist to provide power, not to take power away.
Yeah, right.
So it is a last resort option, and it is something that, the chance of that happening is very slim. But, if there's a right, perfect conditions, I guess the perfect storm of conditions, we would maybe have to execute that. But that is a last resort option.
Right. And I think that, I mean, the thing that I got kind of out of that is that, as Tanya and I were listening to that, is that it's not a bad idea to have a home generator or to have some kind of an alternative power source. And this is just, the power grid is pretty frail in the sense it is, if it disconnects in one spot, everything downstream, wherever that might be, and we experience that from time to time, especially in rural Oregon. And so, but there is procedures. I mean, if we lost power and we had to crank up our home generator, there are, I don't know, talk about what can people prevent it? What are the best practices in that kind of a case? Do you have any suggestions?
Well, again, it is highly unlikely that we would ever execute a PSPS, but in the case you do, and just for any natural disaster or just anything, getting a generator is always a good idea. But make sure you check with a local electrician about getting a safe and a proper generator. Some of some of the I guess the negative side effects of generator, if they're improperly installed, that could lead to backfeed, which is a term that means if it's improperly installed, it can feed electricity back to one of our lines and transformers. And so if one of our linemen goes to restore power, they think the power is out when that line is actually energized, and that is extremely dangerous. So backfeed is a huge issue, especially in the utility industry. So if you do have a generator, I'd recommend you contact a certified electrician and make sure it is properly installed.
Yeah, and you can't just. You're right, and this is probably area that you didn't necessarily want to wade into, but it's the question. Fine. Yeah, but you can't. Yeah, you can't just. I mean, you can't just plug in your generator to the power supply and supply that to your house because of that very purpose.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can have a generator outside and run an extension cord in and plug it into your refrigerator so everything doesn't go bad, and
yeah, exactly. And we have a ton of tips on generator safety and wildfire safety and public safety power shutoffs. We've communicated extensively about it. If that ever has to occur, just go to our website, otec.coop. We have a ton of information about everything related to wildfire prevention, wildfire mitigation, public safety power shutoffs, and generator safety. So there's a ton of good educational information on our website.
Good. And just a shout out to those guys that in the storm are out there reconnecting, whatever it might be. I mean, if the wind has blown trees down, and taking out a portion of the power line, they're there with chainsaws clearing that debris and trying to get that connected up. And they're doing that in the midst of the weather that we're all huddled in our house away from. So big shout out.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Our line guys, they're ready for anything, any time of day, any kind of weather event. They're ready to go, and they won't stop until everyone's power's back on.
Excellent. Well, Joe, let's just circle back real quick about the meeting that is happening next Saturday, the 21st. Give us the details one more time.
Yeah, so it's our first in-person annual meeting in more than 2 years. May 21st, Saturday, May 21st at Baker High. Again, if you live in LeGrand, John Day, or in the Burns area, we are offering free bus rides. Just call your local senior center, and they have a sign-up sheet. And yeah, all OTEC members are invited. It's for free. If you can't make it, thanks to you, Brent, they can watch it online. And so if you can't make it, if you just want to hang out in your house and watch it on Facebook or the OTEC website, feel free to do so, because Brent will be live streaming it. So we appreciate your help with that too, Brent.
Good. And people see the signs around, the different people that are running for the board. And then just to remind people, those folks are you and I. They are public people in our area who are putting their names forward. They're on the board. And the whole point of that is OTEC is owned by you. And so then it is operated by a board that is you.
Yes.
And so if there's some suggestion that you have for OTEC, you have a board member that represents your area. Yeah. And you have a pathway to have input into whatever's going on.
Yep, because we are a member-owned cooperative. Every member is an owner, and they have a voice in the direction of the cooperative, and that's through the board of directors. And that's why we hold elections every year. We have 9 board positions, and 3 are up for election every year. So you, as a member owner of OTEC, have a say in the voice of the cooperative and the direction of the cooperative. So I would encourage everyone to please vote.
Yep, and that is the same reason why occasionally, as owners, we get a check.
Yes.
A dividend check. Is that what it is? I'm trying to remember,
the capital credits checks. Yes.
Right.
That is the most important, one of the most important visible benefits, I should say, of being a member owner. At the end of the year, your investment, you get a cut of your investment into the cooperative. And so that's another huge part of being a member owner of a cooperative. That's something that you would not have if you're part of a investor-owned utility. They send their margins to their stockholders. We send any leftover margins that we have back to our member owners. That's you.
And you take a portion of that and you give it away in scholarships too.
Yes.
I mean, is that right?
Yeah. some of the our scholarships are part of unclaimed capital credits. So those member owners that have not claimed or have left the area or not members anymore, that is just from the interest from those capital credits. And through the OTEC Member Foundation, we provide up to 30 or more scholarships per year, and that's academic, students looking to attend trade school, lineman school. This year, after 2 years, we're actually sending 4 local students to the Washington, D.C. Youth Tour, which is sponsored by our national association. So they'll get to spend a week at the nation's capital. So we're really excited to do that.
Very cool. All right. Well, thanks, Joe. Thanks for jumping on this morning, and appreciate your time. And I'll see you next Friday or Saturday, depending on your schedule, when we set up for stuff. So
absolutely looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody at the annual meeting. If you guys need more information, just visit our website or just call your local OTEC office. And yeah, it's going to be fun. Hope to see everyone there. And again, we're going to have prizes, giveaways, raffles. It's just going to be a fun atmosphere, free lunch. So yeah, we hope to see everyone there. All
right. Next Saturday, the 21st at 8:30 is when the doors open. The meeting begins at 10:30. Is that right?
Yep, 10:30, okay. And then lunch will be served at 12. We also have live music too. A local band called Barefoot and Bonafide will be performing. I believe they're out of Baker, so it's just gonna be a fun, laid back atmosphere for the whole family. So yeah, hope to see everyone there.
Excellent. All right, thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Brent. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. All righty, that's good. How fun is that? So, when you get a chance, I mean, if you run into a power line guy, or you run into, some of those people that help us with that infrastructure, give them an attaboy. Yes, they get paid for their job, and they get paid fairly. But still, every once in a while, everyone needs to know some kind of affirmation. You'd be surprised at the number of people that appreciate what it is that we do, but we never hear anything. You hear something when something goes wrong. So, all right. Well, hey, I want to bring on Alex McHaddad, our news director. And how you doing, man?
Good. How about you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So we're kind of in the midst of this. I think that you are our news director, but you are also a political junkie, I think is how I would. Yeah. Is that?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
And you are also now the treasurer of the state Republican Party. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So you're pretty involved in the politics side of stuff. And I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here with us. What do you think of this season? Talk to us about what you think's going on.
Oh boy, this has been the craziest election to follow since I've been in Oregon. There's 19 Republican candidates for governor. So that's why the ballots are so large this year, because there are just so many people who thought, hey, I could do this. Oregon has an extremely low bar to get on the ballot. You have to fill out a form and send in a check, and suddenly you're a candidate for governor, and everybody should love you and respect you as a result of that. Which results in there are several candidates on the ballot who are actual contenders who can fundraise to get this office and who can actually do it if they get elected. And there are a lot of people who are like, ooh, just fill out a form and I'm a candidate. Cool. So that's made this a very interesting cycle. And hard to watch occasionally, because these people who are on there by virtue of having filled out a form and have no clue how it actually works, go to debates and things and get disruptive because they think it's going to build up their 15 minutes of fame or whatever it is. And yeah, they've made it a little more interesting than it needs to be.
So you've interviewed most of those people, for those folks that are interested in hearing them speak in their own voice on our network under EO Talks. You've interviewed, I don't know, how many interviews have you done at this point?
I've interviewed 17 candidates for governor, 5 candidates for U.S. Senate, 2 candidates for BOLI commissioner, and 2 candidates for state appeals court.
Wow. Yeah. And I don't know it's probably just a continuation of what you just said. You get a variety of people that, for different reasons are running for this position. who do you think are the most hopefuls for those positions?
Let's see. So for governor, I think the candidates most likely to get it would be Christine Drazen, former House Republican leader Dr. Bud Pierce from Salem, Mayor Carrie McQuiston from Baker City, maybe LC School Superintendent Mark Thielman, and then former State Representative Bob Tiernan, I think would be the top 5 contenders I'd look at.
Okay.
They have the widest following, the greatest increase in public perception, and most importantly for a lot of those people is the largest number of small donations. So all candidates have to report publicly how much money they make, but they can hide the names of people who give less than $100. And I really like those small donations because they're a better sign of the people out there who only have a little to give, but they're interested in enough to give, and they're probably going to make phone calls and knock on doors for these candidates. And only one candidate has made more than $100,000 in small donations on the Republican side, and that's Bud Pierce.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So then just to kind of narrow that down. So then those candidates that have a large number of small donations, you kind of get a feel where there's more. I mean, that's a lot different than a few people who give a lot. It's like, well, yeah, that person has rich friends. Whereas, if there's actually several people that give small donations or lots of people, then you get kind of an idea of leadership. You get kind of an idea of people want to follow this person.
Exactly. Like one of the biggest fundraisers in total so far is former state rep Bob Tiernan, who was also the president of Grocery Outlet for a while. And he gave his campaign $1 million, and suddenly he's one of the richest campaigns in Oregon.
Wow.
And he jumped in like at the last possible minute. So everybody else has been running for a year, has already spent their $1 million. He's suddenly running now and has $1 million left to go. So that's been interesting to watch. But ultimately, I think the people who are getting these small donations are a lot more likely to be the ones who get a higher percentage of the vote, unless somebody has a ton of money they can just throw in at the last minute. I think we're seeing in a couple of different places things like that. I know there's a very grassroots candidate running for a state representative over here where I'm living in Lynn County, who's raised more in small donations than her opponent, but she's only raised like $8,000 in total. Her opponent's raised less than her in small donations, but he has $75,000 in the bank. And that's going to go a lot longer with a lot more people, even if she has, more grassroots support. $8,000 does not beat $75,000 when you're running for legislature. Yeah.
So on the Democratic side, who are the contenders there? I mean, there's fewer. Maybe explain to people why there's fewer.
The Democratic Party, I believe, is a lot more disciplined. There's a lot more coordination between the party and their interest groups, especially public employee unions. They whittle down people who are interested in running and go, well, hey, here's a better thing for you to do. We can add you to the bench later on. You're a little too inexperienced to do this, but you have the heart. So, they're not turning away people who have an interest in running for office. They're putting them in places that will make them eligible to do this kind of thing later on. The three, I guess there are only 4 people running for governor on the Democratic side who have any experience as an elected official, and that would be former House Speaker Tina Kotek, current State Treasurer Tobias Reed, a Haines City Councilor Peter Hall, and then Patrick Starnes, who served on several different elected boards and special districts in Southwest Oregon, where he lives. I forget which county, but I think he's in Lane County. That's what you have on the Democratic side. Is there's only 2 really big candidates. The big spoiler that people are looking at, though, is that regardless of who wins the Republican and Democratic nominations this spring, there's going to be an independent candidate on the ballot. A well-funded independent candidate, former State Senator Betsy Johnson, has raised probably about $5 million by now to run for governor. She was a Democrat for the last 20 years, but decided that she didn't like either party and wanted to run for governor. So she's probably going to play a big spoiler role, more so for Democrats than Republicans this fall. So I think that's another one of the reasons why there are so many Republicans, is that everyone knows Betsy Johnson is very likely going to give this election to Republicans for the first time in 40-something years.
Interesting. So say that again. She's probably going to give that. I mean, what do you mean by that?
So she's going to draw far more Democrats to voting for her than Republicans. Republicans historically are far more united as a party rather than Democrats. There tend to be more Democrats, but they're not as interested in following the leader of somebody. And like in Oregon, case in point, last year there was a Republican in a Democratic district who won a state Senate seat because a Green Party candidate showed up and rallied all the more left-leaning people to him. And they took 5,000 votes away, which was several thousand more than the Democrat would have needed to beat the Republican. So now there's a Republican in a Democratic district, and that's what's going to happen this fall, is Betsy Johnson is going to get a ton of Democrats to vote for her. Republicans have had enough, so they're going to vote Republican, no matter how good a Democrat turned independent is going to try and pitch to them. So that makes the election very interesting. Democrats don't want to have that kind of fracture. That's another reason why there are so few Democratic candidates for governor, because if there are too many right now, they're going to split up and it's going to be very painful to small.
Well, and the Democrats have had control of the governorship for how many years now? 20?
40.
Yeah, a long time. And so
yeah. The last
living
former Republican governor is dead.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, I mean, that's the incumbent party will always they'll just put forward a few of their most powerful people.
Yeah.
Whereas what's the opposite of the incumbent party? The
opposition party.
The opposition party. Yeah. They're going to, that's kind of the open field, and that's yeah. So anyhow. Yeah. Well, cool.
There are some other observations I can add for you.
Yeah, please.
One of the most interesting races in Oregon is for state appeals court. If you look at that, it's always those judge seats on the end where there's only ever one candidate. And for the first time, probably in 60 years, there is somebody's running against an incumbent for state appeals court, which is kind of unprecedented. The way that unprecedented recently. The way that a lot of these judge seats have been filled in Oregon over the last several decades is that a judge will get elected and then they'll serve almost to the end of their term. They'll retire and then the governor appoints a replacement and then they get to go on the ballot a year later as the incumbents, even though they weren't elected. So people go, well, incumbent, might as well go vote for him. Incumbents are the most popular people typically to get elected. So what we have here is the Judge Darlene Ortega. She's appeals court judge number 3, is being challenged by a former Marion County Circuit Court judge, Vance Day. He's more on the conservative side. That's what he's kind of leaning into. So we have a competitive statewide judicial race for the first time in decades, and that is a big deal for people in Oregon. I know with 19 Republican candidates for governor, everybody's kind of going crazy, but all of them are backing this guy for appeals court. So vote for him. Yeah, and I interviewed both the incumbent judge, Darlene Ortega, as well as Judge Day, so people can go watch that on EOSOX. The other big statewide race is the race for the Commissioner of Bureau of Labor and Industries. Do you know what BOLI is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, it's the labor law regulator. That's what this entity does. It's a statewide, nonpartisan office. I believe the longest statewide office holder in Oregon history was a BOLI commissioner. It was a guy who was BOLI commissioner for like almost 40 years or something like that, earlier in the century. And he was a Republican, so the longest statewide office holder in history was this BOLI commissioner who was there for like 38 something odd years. This year, the race is, it's not a dynamic I don't think anybody was expecting. The Democrats didn't run any top tier candidates for it. Usually there's at least one big one that jumps in and they just kind of take it. The incumbent who is not running for re-election is Val Hoyle. She was the state house majority leader for the Democrats for a while. Her congressman retired, so she decided she's been a statewide nonpartisan officer for 4 years. That's kind of boring, so she's going to run for Congress. And that leaves the seat wide open. So there are only like 2 Democratic candidates. There are 3 Republican candidates, and I think there's a progressive candidate or something like that. But Democrats took the weird step of not running anybody that anybody's ever heard of for the office. There's some labor rights attorney and a county commissioner from Yamhill, and nobody has ever heard of them. None of them have either run a statewide race before, so they're pretty new to the whole fundraising bit. Oregon Republicans have an actual top-notch candidate. They're running a former state representative. Her name was Sherry Helt. She was the state representative in Bend for a while. And it's this weird dynamic where the Republicans are the only group with a candidate who actually knows what they're talking about, has some pull, can actually get things done, where Democrats just kind of sleptwalk. We're like, labor rights attorney, county commissioner. But yeah, it's really funny to watch that happen.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, and that's probably something most people wouldn't even notice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, good. Well, anything else?
Please vote. I mean, it's May 17th is the day, so get it into the county clerk by that evening. Robin Church does a really good job of taking care of our elections, so you can be confident that everything's going to go well over there in Union County. Yep. Please vote, people.
What's your opinion on when there is no two people running? And I mean that I had a conversation with Matt Scarfield about this the other day, and goes, because he's like, well, wait a minute, I still want you to vote. You have a why or why not? Does that matter?
It's important for I think that it changes based on certain races. In kind of smaller areas, I think it's important for you to still vote because it gives elected officials the ability to go to other people and go, hey, this many people voted in our local election, even with just one person. These people really care about the work this entity is doing, whether it's your special district or your school board. It's like, hey, if voter turnout is higher there than it is in some other places, I think that's something that they can go to other people, legislators and congressmen, and go, hey, people really care about this. Here's one reason we can say, we can claim, we think truthfully that people care is so many people participated in the election. When it comes to higher office or other offices, if there's only one person running, I usually will write in somebody. I know when I for all judicial petitions in the state of Oregon, I have done this for several years, and I probably will do until I die. If there's no person running against the incumbent, I write in Laura Eckstein, local lawyer. She's great, so that's my recommendation for every a competitor. Just write in Laura Eckstein, because why not? When I was in Union County, of course, anytime there was a non-judicial office and there was nobody running against, I wrote in Mike Burton, who's a local civil servant, because I'm like, hey, he's a nice guy, why not? So, I'm not a big fan of non-contested elections. I know I was really mad at the LeGrand School Board election last year. There was only one contested race, and it was between the incumbent and a competitor. And I was like, God, these people aren't campaigning. I have no idea who they are or what they believe. So what I ended up doing was probably the most petty way to decide it as possible. The incumbent was a member of the Independent Party of Oregon, which is a political party. And the guy running against him was a non-affiliated voter. So I decided to go with the non-affiliated guy rather than a member of a party different than mine. That was a very petty decision, I will say. That was very petty, but I had nothing else to go on.
Right.
So what was I supposed to do? If you're going to run for office, you're going to ask people to trust you with their money. Talk to them, ask them what they want. Don't just put your name on the ballot. That's just kind of rude.
Well, and I mean, I think that voting certainly is, everyone still can have an opinion, even if it's unpopular, and in this day of cancel culture, everybody's afraid to express their opinion, whatever it might be. But the fact is, it's still a secret ballot. You can vote for whomever you want for whatever reason, petty or not, that you want. That's how our system operates. That's the foundation of it. And so, yeah, you don't have to explain your reasons. You just have to exercise you don't even have to, but it's just good for you to exercise your right to vote. So
exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Alex. Appreciate
Thank
you. Thank you jumping in this morning, and always appreciate the work that you do in the background every day. You're remoting in, and appreciate what it is that you're doing. So thanks a bunch.
Absolutely. Have a great day, EOA.
All right, everyone. Hey, thanks for tuning in with us today. Just a couple of reminders. I think there's a couple of baseball, softball games that are happening today. No, I'm sorry, that's tomorrow. That Kyle will be carrying, and then also tomorrow at noon. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock at the police station here in downtown LeGrand, or in LeGrand. It's not downtown, it's up on 4th Street. They will have a service or a little memorial service at 1 o'clock for the officers that have fallen over the last 100 years. I think there's 4 of them. The first one was in the 1930s. And so anyhow, that will be streamed, but you also have the opportunity to come up and be a part of that. Gary Bell is putting that together, and he said it'd be about 20 minutes. So be sure and check that out tomorrow. So, all righty. Well, other than that, I'm trying to think. I can't think of anything specific that we're streaming, but you never know when something is going to pop up. So be sure and set your notifications on Facebook, so that it's when we do have a live stream, it notifies you. And be sure to remember, you can always find our content on any of our network, Facebook, YouTube, Roku, and then also on our website, which is eoalive.tv. We are developing a new site you can check out if you want. It's at EOA.tv, and over a period of time, that's where everything will be migrating. So, all right. Thanks a bunch. Appreciate you joining me this morning, and I will see you next Tuesday right here.